I want to welcome everybody today to our webinar on women's FR workwear and the importance of a proper fit. I'm Mark Sainer, the FR Technical Manager of Workrite Uniform Company, and joining me today is Jessie Garcia, our Product Development Manager. So let's get started. Today I'm going to talk about some of the statistics about women in the workplace. I'll cover some FR clothing needs, potential compliance issues, styling and fit characteristics, and then some of the typical offerings that you can expect out there. So let's start off with some of the stats. 38% participation in the 1970s. Women were only 38% of the workplace back in the 70s. Now in 2015, it's up to 57%, so there's been a pretty good rise in the number of women in the workplace. And in the oil, natural gas, petrochem industry, it's 17% women, so a lot higher than many might expect. And it's expected by 2035 that there'll be 290,000 women working in the oil, natural gas, petrochem industry. So a large number of women in the workplace. And then in the utility workers as well, 22.4% of the utility workers are women. So women make up a large part of our workforce these days, and they need to have garments, particularly safety garments, that are properly designed for them. So let's talk a little bit about why FR in the first place. The idea of FR clothing is that the fabric doesn't ignite and continue to burn. You don't want your clothing to catch on fire. It provides protection for both arc flash and flash fire hazards. And the whole idea is to minimize the severity and amount of burn injury. The lower amount of burn injury and the severity of it is going to increase the chances of survival, which is critical, and that's what it's all about. Some facts about FR clothing. Most severe burns are caused by the clothing igniting itself, not the original hazard. And the clothed areas of these, when you wear non-FR clothing, is burned much more severely than your exposed skin. You can see in this picture, this person was obviously wearing a tank top, and the areas here at the top and over on the arms is not burned nearly as badly as where the tank top itself was and caught on fire. And you can even see on the sides where they had some, it was obviously a synthetic because it melted onto the skin. Cost of burn injuries are very expensive. They can exceed the cost of an FR program easily. We're talking numbers upwards to $1 million just for the hospitalization costs. And then you have lots of other costs that come into play. Liability claims, insurance premiums can increase. You can get damage to your brand, to your image, OSHA fines. All those numbers can make the total cost of a burn injury well in excess and up to maybe $4 million. We've seen cases. So it's very expensive to have burn injuries. They can be easily prevented if you wear the proper clothes. And not just the cost, but the injuries are very painful, long rehabs. We're talking a day in the hospital for every 1% body burn injury. And survival rate, as I said earlier, survival rate's what it's all about, and it increases dramatically with smaller amounts of burn injury. And in this table that was provided to us by the American Burn Association, you can see some of the numbers that show what how the survival rate changes with the percent of body burn injury. When you look at the purple bar, you're talking about 25% body burn injury, and you can see what how high the survival rate numbers are. They're in all age groups. You're looking at 90% plus survival rate, which is fantastic. When you go to 50% body burn, you can see the numbers drop off. But even at 50% body burn, even at the older age group, you've still got well in excess of a 50-50 chance of survival. And in the younger age groups, you're up over 80%. So 50% body burn is not good, but it's much better than if you get more. And when you look at 75% on the green bar, now the numbers have dropped off significantly. And everyone except for the young age group is well below 50-50 chance of survival. And the older age group, you're looking at 25% chance. So keeping that number as low as possible is critical. Here's a video that shows a body burn or a clothing ignition burn of various fabrics. The one on the left being the Nomex 3A FR fabric. You've got your cotton and polycotton in the middle two that are not FR, and you'll see when they're exposed to the flame how much different they operate. This is a 3-second mannequin burn exposure. You see how the Nomex self-extinguished quickly, whereas the cotton and polycotton continue to burn rapidly, and particularly the polycotton in the middle is burning rapidly, and it's also melting and dripping. None of these are ones that you want to be in that situation. You'll want to be in the FR if you have the potential for clothing ignition. So let's look at some of the industries where FR is important. Flash fire, hazard exposures, you're looking at industries like anything with petroleum, refining, chemical processing also has a large potential for flash fires. Oil and gas drilling, there was an OSHA memo out a few years back that required the FR in oil and gas drilling operations. Mining as well as an area where you can have methane gas pockets that can turn into a flash fire. You've got gas utilities working with natural gas, where the flash fire is obviously going to be a potential hazard. And even combustible dust. People don't think about dust as being hazardous, but a variety of dust can be quite combustible if they get in small enough particles lofted into the air with the oxygen and have an ignition source. We're talking agricultural dust, grain dust, sugar dust, coal dust can be a very bad hazard. Even some metals in the right particle size can be combustible and can create a flash fire. When we look at electric arc flash hazards, we're talking about industries like obviously electric utilities working out on the high tension power or high power poles. You're looking at manufacturing that uses high voltage electrical equipment. The electricians and maintenance people are potentially exposed to electric arc flash. Mining, again, they have a lot of electrical equipment down in the mines that can be exposed to arc flash. And all those industries are places where you're going to need to have FR clothing. Typical fit issues that we run into. I'm going to have Jessie talk a little bit about what kind of fit issues you might run into when the women are actually wearing men's clothing.
So some of the things that we hear is that if they're too loose or baggy with a boxy look, uncomfortable, the pant rise doesn't fit right around the waist or seat. The sleeves are too long, and that's one of the things that Mark mentioned as far as the importance of them getting caught in machinery if they don't have the proper sleeve length. And then just overall unflattering contours.
So what does this lead to? If you have those situations where it's not fitting properly, what kinds of compliance issues or what kind of safety issues can that lead to? We mentioned catching the machinery when you have either the sleeves or the body or other parts of the garment that doesn't fit properly. It's too loose, too baggy. It can actually impair your movement, so you can't accomplish your work task as well as you might otherwise. And people tend to wear them improperly. They tend to roll the sleeves up or roll the pant legs up. They might unzip the coverall. All these can leave exposed skin, leave exposed non-FR clothing underneath, which are not good things to happen. And the newer standards require full body coverage, so you're not supposed to do those kinds of things. People tend to alter the clothing to fit better, but they might not do it properly. They might not use the right fabrics or right threads, snaps, etc. So that's always leads to potential problems when you let people alter the FR clothing. And worst of all, they might just not wear it. If it doesn't fit right, if it's uncomfortable, if it looks bad, they might just wear something that's non-FR and not wear their safety clothing, which is a bad thing. So all these can lead to compliance issues and reason why you want to have a woman's safety clothing designed and built for a woman. I'll have Jessie talk a little bit about some of the design elements that are incorporated into a garment to make them better suited for women.
So for the women's shirt, we have the buttons on the left, which is traditional closure in women's clothing. Proper sleeve length, as we mentioned earlier, is very important. Our sleeve lengths are made to fit most women. Horizontal darts in the front chest makes the bodies of the garment more form-fitting. The vertical darts on the front adds a more feminine shape so that it doesn't have that boxy appearance. The vertical darts in the back, which you can't see on this image, however, we do have the vertical darts in the back, and what that does is it pulls in the fabric just enough to avoid the shirt from creating any bellows in the back when it's worn tucked in. And then lastly on the shirt, the proper length of the shirt tail. The shirt is made a little bit longer in the shirt tail, and that helps to keep the shirt tucked in when working.
And having a shirt tucked in can be very important, because if you get either a flash fire or an arc flash down low, the heat's going to tend to want to come up and across the body, and if the shirt's untucked, that just opens up a channel for that heat and flame to come up underneath, and if you're wearing non-FR underneath, then that can ignite and catch on fire. So that's important to have the shirt tail length proper.
And then on the women's pant design, the back rise is longer for a more comfortable fit in the scoop. The regular waistband, it's really set at a mid-rise waistband, so the pants can be worn at your natural waist. Contoured waist with darts on the back of the pants, and that gives the pants a shape, and it's a more comfortable fit overall. Hips and thighs is shaped for feminine physique. Then it also has the lower rise with shorter zippers, which is different than of a man. So you will have the shorter zippers. It's not going to have a big 10-inch zipper on there. So that helps with both appearance and comfort.
And you notice that we talked about the little bit lower waistline. That's another reason why the shirt needs to be a little bit longer in the tail to accommodate for the interface, so it'll stay tucked in.
Then the women's coveralls. They have a smaller, more feminine collar. It's not as wide as a men's coverall is. Vertical and horizontal darts that are placed in the front of the coverall, and that gives it a shape and a form-fitting appearance as well. Elastic on the side of the hips. Our men's coveralls have a wider elastic on the back of the coveralls, where the women's are more narrow and it's placed in the hip area versus the back. Lower front waistband, and then the proper front and back rise, so that it actually fits similar to the pant, and the waistline falls where it needs to be.
So you can see that throughout the different styles of garments, whether it be a shirt, a pant, a coverall, they all have features to them, design features that make them more suitable for women to wear, to not only for safety reasons but also for appearance and comfort. So there's a number of techniques used in the design of a women's garment that is different than that of a man's, that we think is important to have, so that women in the workplace, which is a growing number, they have clothing that's going to work for them as well. And when you look at the different types of garments and the different variety that would be available, you're talking about pants in a variety of different forms, whether they be regular woven pants, twill pants, or whether they're jeans in a variety of colors and fits. You're talking about shirts, again, that are in different colors and fabrics that are suited for the different types of applications, different arc ratings, etc. Coveralls we talked about. A big baggy man's coverall just doesn't work well on a woman, and that one in particular could be dangerous in terms of catching on machinery and just making it uncomfortable to wear. And as well, we also make female lab coats. It's an industry that has recently become more aware of the need for FR, and there's a lot of women working in laboratories, and so having a woman's lab coat is very important to them, because they're wearing them all day in the lab and they want them to fit right, feel comfortable. And we also make them way down into the small sizes, the extra small, because there's a lot of the women in the laboratory industry that are of smaller stature, so it's important to have one that fits them properly as well. So I hope there was some good information for you in today's webinar. Talked a little bit about the safety importance of the FR garments and how fit and comfort can be important for the women so that they follow the rules, they stay in compliance, are better protected. If you have other questions, feel free to shoot me an email, msainer@workrite.com. I'd be happy to address anything, whether it be on safety hazards, whether it be on women's workwear, whatever it might be. Feel free to shoot us an email, and we'll get back to you with some information. So appreciate you being with us today, and if you have any questions, let us know, and keep an eye out for future webinars that we'll be showing coming down the road. So thanks again.